Hello, I'm Ciaran Doran and a very warm welcome to you all to A Table for Four. I'm joined by three lovely guests and a lovely audience today, and we're going to be looking at making books. And in fact, we are looking at what I like to call my creative journal. I'm going to be taking our lovely guests through the process of making a journal that they can fill in themselves. It's based on using a cereal packet that I'm sure we all know and we're familiar with. So we're using recycled materials. Some of the papers I'm using are from jobs that were cancelled that I've kept. So the whole ethos of this is to make something creative that can be given, that can be kept. So before we start, I would just love to give a lovely round of applause to all our guests. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself. I'll start off with you in your gorgeous green dress. What's your name?
My name is Shannon. It's very nice to meet you all.
And tell me a little bit about perhaps your creative journey and what brought you here today.
So my creative journey started a couple of years ago. Just through a little bit of struggles, and I found that craft was an excellent way to get through my mental health. And at the moment I would be doing a lot of wax melt making, a lot of spooky wax melts, photography and upcycling furniture.
Wow, that's quite a lot. Well done. It's lovely to meet you and you're very welcome to the programme.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to you, what can I say? When you came through the door, I thought crinoline lady meets fairy on the Christmas tree. You look incredible. So let me hear a little bit about yourself.
My name is Sue. I am an environmental artist and I work mainly in textiles and I dress like this all the time. So you can't leave it to the teenagers to have fun with clothing. And firmly agree with what Shannon said. Crafting is so important for your mental health, and what you're saying about sustainability, there is already enough stuff in the world, so we should be reusing what we already have to make beautiful things.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about your work as an environmental artist. I don't know much about environmental artists, so I look forward to, while we're working, hearing about you. And I'd like to introduce my next guest. Let me have your name.
Ethan is my name. Red Buzzer is my artist, musician name.
And tell me a little bit about perhaps your creative journey or your music. That would be lovely to hear about.
Well, I'm currently studying music, H&D in Belfast Met here.
Yeah.
So I'll be doing that for the next 2 years. But aside from that, I'd like draw portraits, paint, make tie-dye t-shirts, upcycle furniture and like materials, make signs and different bits of things.
Did a little bird tell me that you sew?
I do that bit of sewing, yeah. If my clothes need attending to, buttons need replacing, or if there's holes or whatever, yeah.
So it's lovely to have you on board. So what we're going to be doing today is I'm going to give a little overview about creative journaling and how I started. What we're going to be ending up with is something along the lines of this. What I've done in this one is covered it in recycled denim. The inside cover is padded with some inner polyester that is reusable. So the end papers, that's your freestyle choice today. Once you've put your pages in, let your book take on a bit of personality, which I don't think we'll have any doubt here with Sue, and then add them in. So a book comprises of signatures, and signatures are where you have a series of folded pages and they're sewn in the middle. The key thing is you then have to sew your signatures into the spine. But my feeling was, instead of trying to hide it, just make sure your signature is a nice thread. So what I've done on this one and on yours, I've done a really nice bit of embroidery thread, quite Japanese, that simplicity of one stitch being continuous. Now let's look at the pages, because this is what you're going to be doing. I've folded the paper for you halfway, but you've got a lovely tool. Would you like to hold yours up for me? This is gorgeous. This is plastic. These are not expensive. This tool is your best friend if you're making any kind of paper art or creative journal. It's good for getting in nooks and crannies, and it's quite good as well for creasing your paper. So I've put in some pages. So as you can see, the signatures are very simple. I've mixed brown and white paper, but a lovely way of avoiding having to sew too much is to create some bifold pages. And the way that I do that is I save all the offcuts from pieces of paper that I've cut, and I literally, with my Pritt stick, do that. So what you can do is just make up a couple of signatures and then we'll sew them into your book. You've used an awl before. An awl is a very, very dangerous tool. we just have to be really careful using it, and we always work on a piece of cardboard with it so we don't go through the table. But that is thick enough to go through your paper, but then through the spine of your book. What I always advise to people when you're using an awl, work from the outside in so you don't get this like protuberance of card. To get to the place I've got to with your books, basically have our cardboard carcass really of a book. And what I do is I cut off these bits. This is a lovely, and I keep the card. They're really useful for when you are making the holes in your paper. You can use them as a ruler, so you could measure the holes and use them as a template. So what you would do is glue the back of that, okay? I like to leave that there to give a little bit of extra strength. So what I always do is I literally would, if you could pass me the wadding, with wadding, I'm quite kind of not too generous with it because you don't want it so padded that you can't shut the book. And then you glue along here and here and here, and you literally fold it over to cover your book. So you end up with a really lovely cover that's all stretched and neat and looks like this. So it will look like that once you've finished. And I'm just going to, poor Sue, she's getting everything chucked at her.
I teach teenagers, don't worry.
While I'm getting on with giving out the paper, I'd like you to have a look at this, both of you, just to kind of have a look. And if you want to tear some of the pages out, just to get a feel, if you're looking for colour or for detail, when you tear your paper, if you tear it very, very gently, you get a lovely, lovely jagged edge. That jagged edge really absorbs the glue really well. So it means if you were layering your paper, you don't want to stick everything down. So I'm going to let you two devour this book, and I'm just going to start off here with Ethan on his pages. So what I'd like you to do is make yourself up the equivalent of what I've done here, just to get you started and get you sewing, to see that lovely sewing that you're going to do for me. Put together a couple of sets of just 6 pages. Now forgive me, on my one I want to use a little bit of ripped paper. I just like that little detail. It kind of makes people know that you're reusing a bit of paper. So that is my first. How many have you got there?
6 pieces.
Oh, I think what you
3 just.
So 3 to make a 6, yeah. So 3, that is a signature of 3, so that makes 6, okay? So if you perhaps make up another one of those, okay? And what I then want you to do is get your paper folder and you literally hold it like this and then just press it down and you get the most fabulous crease. But then what I do is I turn it again, do it the other way.
You're doing them all at once, yeah?
Yeah. In this instance, yes. If you were using handmade paper lined with gold, I would do them individually. You never know, when you might get a commission. And then what I want you to do is, the book is taking on its natural kind of, there's a balance to how it kind of opens. It's beginning to feel like a book. That's lovely. That's a lovely action. That's good. You kind of have to work with both hands, be a bit left-handed and right-handed. So you've got your, so you've got a nice bit of card going on there and that bit. So what I'm going to do is, I'll come back to you in a minute, maybe make up one more. So what I'm going to ask you lovely ladies to do is start making up your signatures between you. But when you've done that, I believe, Sue, you've got a trick.
For making really tiny mini books.
With an A4
piece of paper,
yeah?
yes, I can show you that.
So from this A3, you can probably, in fact, if I tear that into half for you, or I let you do that, you could maybe show us that once you've made up a couple of pages.
Okay.
Okay. And do feel free just to push everything out of the way. So what we're going to do now, Ethan, is I'm going to show you how we actually mark where we're going to put the holes. And what I do is I take I'm going to work on 3 pieces at once, because then when I make my hole, it will go through all the 3 pages simultaneously. But what I actually do is, This is a creative journal. It's not mass produced, it's unique, it's a one-off. It's Ethan's creative journal, and Ethan can sew, but you want to make sure the most important thing is that your holes are in the right place, because your holes are going to be what holds the book together. So I don't measure. I don't know if we've got any measurers in our team today.
I don't do maths.
But you can measure. But what I'm going to do is do this by eye. So I'm literally going to put a little line there. So you're almost making your own guideline.
Yeah.
So you know that on every page that you're going to sew or make your holes, you literally then just move that very slightly to one side and just put a dot like that. The same way if you were making a leather belt and you wanted to put holes on it. So then you get your second page. I hope you don't mind a ripped page. Do you mind that? I quite like that. It's a bit quirky. So then you line that up again, and because all these pages are roughly the same, that should be okay, all right? And then you do your dots, and then I'll let you do the next one. So if you're working on this piece of cardboard, you've got a bit of a cushion, so it means that it really indents in. There's some great paper activity going on there. So you've got your second lot of holes. So I'm going to let you do the third one. Oh, you've got some nice card here. That feels like a book. That's lovely. So I'm going to let you make that one. So you just line that up. While you're doing that, I'm going to try and find my glasses. If not, we have the reserve glasses. That I think for a table for 4, I have 44 pairs of glasses, because I think every programme I had about 4 on the table. There we go. I'm hoping these are mine, not somebody else's. Oh, that's great. Hello, everybody. Okay, that's wonderful. Now what we need is the awl. Just this little bit of your hand here is your best friend. Just hold it there gently. And literally, you just need to be in control of it. And you don't have to go like this. You literally just gently. And you will feel a little pop as you go through the 3 layers of paper. So then you need to put that to one side to make sure it doesn't get damaged. I'm going to let you have a go now. You happy to do that?
Yeah.
So what I would do is clip it together and give it your all, okay? And just remember to kind of, that's it. Brilliant. Well done. It's fabulous.
Enough.
That's great. That is more than enough. So while that is happening, what I want you to do is, in here, wonderful box of tricks. And again, a tip, I have a little bookmaking box. There are materials that you really need for bookmaking, and there are materials that you can do without but are nice to have. And waxed thread is something that I'm going to be using and reusing a lot. So I bought my kit in. If a thread is waxed, it means it goes through your paper without tearing it. So if you can imagine, paper has a warp and a weft, really. The fibres are very like material, so you don't want to put any strain on it. So a waxed thread just glides through the holes really, really easily. Almost lost my glasses again. And what I'm going to do is thread that up, get it quite long, get it about, well, I've got really long arms, but that's about a metre.
Like arm's length.
Arm's length, and tie a good knot on the end of it. So you're probably better at knots than me, so I'll let you do that. So how are you getting on there? Oh, fabulous. So are you doing tri-folding? That's a really nice idea.
Just for a little bit of a pocket.
That's a
Something
beautiful
that you
idea.
can keep safe.
So I'm going to look to what Sue is doing. You've actually using your marker for your dots.
Yeah.
And you're going, I think.
I'm going to see if it was going through enough so I could then come back from the other way.
Shannon, would you like to use a really bright colour for sewing to your side? I just got that feeling you might do. And I'm going to look in here. So you don't have to use the that thread. You can use, and why am I thinking this colour? So what I'm going to do is give those to you. And I've got a sorry to cut across you there. I have got a lovely, why am I saying this in a Cornish accent?
We've got to you, me handsome.
I've got a lovely darner for you, my lovely.
Thank you
very much. There you go. And you can keep that. So are you ready to start stitching into your book, do you think?
I am indeed, I think.
So what we need to do is, are you okay, Shannon, getting on there? And have you made the holes in your book?
I have.
So what I'm going to, is this your one that
That's
you're
my
working
one, yeah.
on? So what we have here, oh, teacher's pet, look, I can actually see through those. That's perfect. So what you have there is 2 perfect holes. And I think the reason that has worked so well is that we didn't wad the spine. What I'm going to do is I'd love you to start sewing some of your pages in. And if you need a hand with anything, I'm here to guide you. So what we're going to get you to do is get your book open.
Right, I am going to have a play.
And I think we've got our guideline. So let's just, thank you. He's telling me which is top and bottom, which is great. So as you can see here, I've left a bit of a frayed edge there because I thought when you added your end paper, because I hadn't met you when I made this, I thought you might want to have that you could hide that, or if you want to, you could cut that off. What you want to do is make sure that where you are going to make your holes will line up with everything. So I'm going to do one and you're going to do the other. So again, just make sure you've got your cardboard underneath and stick that in and just go through. And again, just be really careful. You need to put a little bit of pressure on and a little bit of pressure here. And you're going to do the other side. Hopefully it will have come all the way through. If it hasn't, just be really careful. And oh, I can actually feel that beginning to happen. It's quite difficult to see. Oh, there we go. So what you now do is go back through that hole and push it in so you get your lovely finish there. No hunker-munker going on. So I'll let you do the other one, okay? So you're threaded up and then we can start sewing in a moment. Did you make a mark with that? Yeah, you're okay? Yeah. Fabulous, you've got that. So Shannon, I'm just going to chat to you for a moment. You're making really good progress and it's really lovely to see that. And you alluded to something earlier saying how creative activity really contributed to your health and well-being.
Absolutely, yeah.
And would you say it helped you to relax or just helped you to take your mind off things?
I would say both, a little bit of both. When you craft, as you know, you kind of lose time and and once you have a finished product, that it's something that maybe you didn't think was going to go well or just something that you've just spent a lot of time on, it ends up being something that you're really proud of. Yeah. And it can lead to obviously other things as well. But it's such a wonderful way that people don't think of. It's like going back to childhood and doing things that, you know, you would have as a child and just enjoying those things, just enjoying as an adult.
There are organisations who really follow through consistently with working in arts and health. But I sometimes think there's a gap for everyday people like you and I who might have an up or down day.
Yes.
But the one thing you know you can do, your creative community is supportive, it's friendly. Through these workshops, I've met so many people who I would love to kind of keep in contact with creatively. So if you set up your own hub based on a table for 4, that would make me so happy. So it's really lovely to welcome you here. And there's also familiarity. I love the vintage vibe that's going on as well.
Thank you very much.
So you've got your thread, you've got your needle.
I do. I just
and
need to
what
put
I
the
would
holes
say
into the
is,
actual.
just a little tip, when you're doing your first stitch, if you want your knots on the outside, which there's a lovely Japanese technique where you do see all your work, but they are beautifully, beautifully tied knots. I keep my knot on the inside because it means if you ever needed to tighten it, you can adjust it on the inside rather than having to move the outside. That you're doing really well. That is lovely. Pull quite gently, otherwise you can end up pulling your knot all the way through. Okay. So you're happy to go. So Sue, I would love to pay you a bit of attention now. So in fact, I think you could probably be taking this class. What are you making there? That is incredible.
I'm desperately trying to remember how to do Turkish map folding because you've set me off now because you were talking about bifolds.
Yes.
And Turkish map folding is a fun way of putting an insert, if I can remember how to do it. So I'm trying to retro-engineer stuff I haven't done in about 4 years.
What I'd love you to do is show
But
me
I've
how
got the
far
little-
you've got with your page. Oh,
Yeah.
this is what I've been waiting for. So talk
doing
me
mini
through
books.
this. This is a really good tip for those of you who want to experiment with how to make a book.
I did this a while ago when we were doing, I'm a craft teacher, unsurprisingly. And during COVID, we were teaching online, and we would have to send out little kits to our students to keep them engaged. And this is one of the things we did. We did little books, very similar to what you were saying about stories. So then they would illustrate them, and they actually went on a little exhibition, which was really sweet.
It's like a tiny
We
exhibition.
had a tiny little library of the students'
How
work, which was so sweet.
beautiful.
Which
That's
was
gorgeous.
the Royal Arts did a thing where they put out a call, so I got my students involved in the call, and it was a real confidence boost. It's what you were saying, Shannon. It's a real confidence booster for teenagers, and so we did these. And this is a sheet of A4, and of course I've lost the other sheet of A4.
Would you be able to hold it up
Yes.
so everybody can see that?
There is a sheet of A4 paper, and I have folded it in half, and then I flipped it the other way in half, and then I folded it in, and then we went the other way, back and back. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 boxes. And then I cut from this edge to this edge. And then you can do this thing where you just flip it like that, and you've got a book.
I think that deserves a round of applause.
But they also have, one of them will have a little pocket in, so we sent tea to each other. We did little tea bags and sent them in the mail, where we sent each other, because we couldn't get together and have a cup of tea, so we sent each other cups of tea.
Lovely.
So
And what do you tend to do with the
I don't
Mr.
know.
Crocodile?
I just like Mr. Bitey. So you know.
So he could perhaps go inside one of your
Inside,
bifold
yeah,
pages.
I think so.
So what we're going to do, you're going to carry on sewing, and then that's looking gorgeous. This is a really good way for finishing off. When you get to, have you finished your
Put it under the
stitching?
knot, no?
Yeah. So what you do is you go round and through,
You make a loop.
make a loop, and pull quite gently. Oh, we've got a few bits trailing there now, but we can tighten those there. You can tighten them up like that. So I think you are safe to snip. So should we get the lovely little snips for you? This is the first time I've used these. So Ethan, it gives me great pleasure to ask you to use the snips for the first time in our bookmaking class. So there you go. We'll give you a round of applause.
Hey!
Would you like to say a few words? No, I'm joking.
Have we got the pokey pokey? Sorry,
There you go.
technical term, pokey
There we go.
pokey.
So, Ethan, that is fabulous. So Ethan has put in his signatures. So there we have them, okay? So what I'd like you to do is take a piece of the paper. I'm going to give you a bit of grey board to work on because I can reuse that. We'll move your lovely book out of the way for now. Imagine how much space I take up at home when I'm doing a workshop. Basically, this is my home. I've brought my home to the studio.
Very much like mine as well.
So what, and Shannon, just so you can see this as well, what you want to do is basically make a seam out of card to stick the two together. So what I would do for 2 pieces of that size, I would cut a piece about a finger width, which is roughly 2 centimetres, like that. And then what you do is you cut that and you glue it.
Yeah.
Just glue it on one side, okay? So I'll let you go ahead and do that. All right. How are you getting on, Sue?
I've remembered how to do the not Japanese stab stitch, Turkish map folding.
Would you like me to hold it up
Yeah.
to the camera
Okay.
and you talk me through it? Can everybody see? Whoops. Can everybody? That is amazing. It's like a jack in the box.
So you have to have squares, and your final thing will be half the size of your square. So I've taken, so there's a square,
Yeah.
and that's what I mean, that's my final square.
Yeah.
So I folded it in half, and I folded it in half, and then I folded it diagonal,
Uh-huh.
and then I did the same on the other side, and I've done 3 of them. Has to be uneven numbers, and you can make the square anything.
Stick them together.
You stick them, and then you fold it so that this is the fun bit, which I can never remember how to do. Is that has to go in like that.
Oh,
that goes
like
like
a pleat.
Like a pleat. So you've got. I always think of them as petals. So that folds in like that.
How
so then,
amazing!
Then you stack them opposite petals, and you get.
Oh, oh my word! That seriously, that is amazing. I'm speechless.
Hey.
That is absolute. That deserves a round
It's your
of
fault
applause.
because it's your button.
You are the queen of. And what do we call that?
It's called Turkish map folding.
Have you done your? Oh, look at that. That's our bifold.
Hey.
So what we've done is basically made a bit of tape like this. In the remaining time we've got, I'd love you to insert that into your book. So just think logically, which way is it going to go? When you're adding your bifold pages, make sure you line them up to the edge of your paper. Otherwise, they could end up being too short and not really fitting into the book. What I've done is I've included for you a little diary page for the coming year. So you could either just stick that in, or you could cut bits out and have that a tab for turning. So it gives me great pleasure to hand over your diary page.
Hey, thank you.
So just little touches like that. There you go. And what would be,
Thank you very much.
oh, what would be gorgeous? One of my sister-in-laws called Pippa the Knitter, a crafter. Every month she gives me a reminder of whose birthday it is, but not everybody has a Pippa. What you could do is give somebody a creative journal and have all the birth dates ringed and the names already put in it. I think I need that to send it to myself. But what you could actually do is do a little bifold page with your diary there. So all in all, I'm just going to wind this up now and just say, Ethan, you've done a fantastic job. Would you like to just show us what you've made?
Hopefully yes, but it doesn't fall out at the last minute.
You've done really, really well. You've got your lovely journal. You've used a lovely lining. You've got a great bookmark going on as well.
Yes.
Well done. That's fabulous. Absolutely gorgeous. And you could keep adding to that.
Yeah.
Perhaps you could use that for some of your music.
It is, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to give you a little envelope as well. Just to, an envelope is a great way of sticking on the inside of your page. Shannon, would you like to show me where you are with yours? You've done really well considering you have not done this before.
So just a little.
I love that inside detail. That is beautiful.
Just a little bit of lace.
It's
right.
almost a caterpillar waiting to happen. It needs googly eyes, and you've got a caterpillar.
And over to our lovely crinoline lady, Edwardian lady with the pink hair, who can make folded map pop-up pages. Talk me through your journal, and would you like to show the camera as well, the crocodile journal?
Okay, it says, bring me an egg and bacon bap and make it snappy.
Oh, that's great. That's brilliant. That's lovely. Thank you.
And then
so you've done your little...
done the little book stuck in there.
Yeah.
And then hiding in the middle is my...
That's beautiful.
my
I
map.
really would love you to
Cool.
perhaps send me details of how you make that. I want to thank Shannon, Sue and Ethan. Thank you so much for coming in, sharing your creativity with me. I want to give you a big round of applause. You've been absolutely fantastic. Thank you. So, a table for 4, you can hardly see it. It looks like a table for 44. We've had a wonderful time making our creative journals. It's been such a pleasure. So that's all for now from A Table for 4, and we look forward to seeing you again soon with our next programme. Bye!